G'day folks, Rod Moore from Moore Art School and Learn to Paint TV, and welcome to another episode of Learn to Paint TV. Glad you could join us this week. Now I've got a great little episode for you this week. We are going to be painting this shearing shed, a sheep shearing shed, which I took a photo of in New South Wales in the country. And it's a great little subject, and it's one we're going to paint in this episode. I know you're going to love it. So this is a photo I took in New South Wales somewhere. It's an old shearing shed here. Nice grasses in the foreground. Got some nice darks around here and here. So I kind of like the composition. I actually did this one in watercolor. So if you've seen my watercolor introduction course, then I've done a version of this in that course. And I thought, let's try it in acrylics and see how we go with it. So you can check out the watercolor version by going to the learntopaint.academy and registering for the watercolor course, and you'll see how I paint it there. But today we're going to do it in acrylics, obviously, for the Learn to Paint TV. And it's a good little subject because you get all this shadow on this side here. You get a sunlight clipping here, casting a shadow here. And yeah, and some interesting little bits and pieces of farm equipment and things like that, fences. Long grasses, we won't put the long grasses in as such. We'll leave it a little bit open so the eye can come in. So as always with the Moore method of painting, in step one, I'm going to start off with our alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, a small flat brush. We'll just dip a little bit of water in there and we'll just make up a little runny little puddle here of paint. That's pretty much the only time I use water in my acrylic painting. Someone asked me on a live stream today, should they be using water? And my response is no, acrylic's not really designed to be used with water, even though a lot of people seem to think it is. So the horizon line there is sort of sitting, it's above the halfway mark. I'm just going to run it through, and it runs slightly uphill, I think, from looking at the photo. There's a little bit of a rise there. And let's map in where the building's going to go. So it's going to, that's the back end there that's all in shadow. It's going to run like so. It runs kind of that way there, horizontally there. And then that's around about in the middle of the painting. It goes up there, and it's a triangle basically, but it rises slightly above that hill line. I know I call that the horizon line, but it's really just a hill. So it's there, there's shadow there, there's shadow underneath there, and then there's shadow in there, okay? That runs to there. So this then runs down that way to about there. And then that runs down there. And it connects back up there, so it's your roof. And then that runs to there, somewhere there, okay? Okay, if we get a little bit rough at this stage, I don't mind. There's a nice highlight that runs across the top of that little veranda there. So that comes down to there, that goes to there. There's another little shed in here. I'll just do it as an extension of this one, kind of there. And then behind that, I think this is important. I'll get a little bit bluer just to make sure it stands out for us. Just in around about there, there's a water tank. Okay, and it's going to sit in behind there. This is going to be a beautiful painting. Just follow along the instructions and the way I'm doing it. Okay, we'll pop another, more of a greener tree there. And we'll bring one down into there, and then those ones in particular there, pretty much shadow. There's a little bit of the one right up to the edge there. There's a little bit of lawn, grassy area just in there. Okay, so we'll just pop those in, and then the foreground. Look, we might run a path out like so we can get the eye to wander in, but we might not. Step two now, the Moore method, is we're going to now block in colour, and for that I'll put out more paint, more ultramarine blue, our titanium white there. So let's get a big brush and we're going to block in everything around the subject. I think is going to be our starting point here today. So let's start off with the sky. for argument's sake, just so we can get a values pattern established. I think in this painting is important. The sky's got to be lighter than this face of the building. So I think we'll start with the sky just to get it established, and we'll go with the lightest part of the sky first. See that there? That's going to be down along the roof line here, because this is going to be fairly light as well. So let's just get a tone down that we can work with. Put in some sky holes and things in that tree there. And by painting the sky around the roof there, we're starting to establish the shape of the shearing shed as well, which is exciting. Start to see it all come together. Just roughly around the tops of these trees. Don't fuss too much at this stage. Okay, so lightest at the horizon. Now we'll just add in a little bit more blue in there now. And let's just work that up. Work fairly quickly with the sky because the paint's going to dry, and I want to merge those two different tones together. So you can't afford to muck around and be talking like I am. Develop my style a bit more where I was a bit freer and looser, and you know, I like paintings where you can see the brush marks, especially up in the sky, big chunky brush marks. My favourite artist, probably my favourite Australian artist of all time, would be Arthur Streeton. If you go and look at his big paintings at the National Gallery, you can see the brush marks and the texture of the paint, and I just love that. You know, they're just so juicy and alive, and there's so much movement in the sky. You know, there's nothing blended flat there. It's like he's out in the field and he's just laying down this paint, you know, and not refining it, and it's just magnificent. I stand there all day looking at it. Anyway, get a bit carried away there. Now let's get some of this dark in a little bit more established here. Look around those sky holes. Yeah, so it is important that you find an artist that you just go, wow, you know, I could just stand here and look at this all day. And when you find that artist, try and figure out, what is he doing, you know? How can I learn from him, learn more? Because having a good mentor or a teacher, I think, is critical. Okay, it's good. Maybe not quite dark enough in there, but not to worry. Now what I'll do is I'll take that same dark mix, I'm just the blue and the red, I'll push it a little bit bluer, okay, because we're going to have a little bit more green in these trees, so the extra blue there will work in our favour. But rather than make it the same tone as that main tree, let's put a little bit of extra blue in it. It's a little bit cooler, so it'll push it back slightly. Okay, something like that. Okay. So, look, everything I've done so far, you can do. There's nothing that magical in what I've done so far. Now, the key is I've had the knowledge of what to do, because I've studied for a number of years. Studied with some of the best painters in the world via their books and DVDs and observation, and where I can, workshops, but you know, courses online and their DVDs and videos has been most of the study that I've done. So I've got the knowledge, and then it's just the practice. You know, it's the dexterity of using the brush. Well, that can only come about through practice, really. It's like playing golf. You don't pick up a golf club for the very first time and start swinging it perfectly, you know. In fact, if you've ever tried that, you'll know that that's just not on at all. Okay, so get in here, and look at this, I'm just going to scrub this brush around up to the edge of the shearer shed. And the reason why I'm scrubbing, I want to open up those hairs, and I just want to get some wild grasses up there. Right? It's probably overdone a little bit, but I can knock those back. Okay, we'll run that up there. Okay, and look, don't fuss with this. We're just going to get colour down. As we come forward, we're going to get that darker in value, and we're going to get it warmer. So what does that mean? That means we're going to add more red, and we're going to add more yellow. A little bit less white. I'll go one more touch of white in there for the moment. And look, I won't worry about that puff. We'll assess it when we get closer to the end. And by the way, you know, we've just released the Learn to Paint Academy, which is going to be the new home of all of our courses and videos and training. Live stream recordings will all be in there. So make sure you go and register an account for free in there. There's free courses in there you can register for. Just go to www.learntopaint.academy, and I will put the link at the end of this episode for you to check out, or in the description. But yeah, go and register a free account, and you know, all the recordings of live streams that we're doing is going to all sit in there, and I'm going to be putting other videos and things all on the free accounts. And of course, we've got all the courses you can check out as well. And if you see a course there that appeals to you, then, you know, come and join us in the course. So I think that's about as much as I want to do for step 2 here. Step 2 of the Moore method is blocking in color, getting the tones right, making sure our values are right. So we get our cooler tones at the back, gets a little bit darker, a little bit warmer for these shadows of the trees. And up here, we've got it lighter, okay? A bit more white in that mix. As we come forward, less white and more pure saturated color. Okay, this is not so saturated down the front here, very saturated color, and darks in the corners to bring the eye in, right? Little tricks like that are important. And it's much warmer in the foreground here than what it is up this back. So that means it's going to create depth in the painting for us. And I think this is going to turn out to be a little beauty, this one. Great subject, you know, Australian shearing shed. Could be anywhere in the world, I guess, it has sheep, but this is going to work out really nicely. So what we need to do now is let this dry off. We need to let it sit for an hour or so, and then we'll come back and we will do step 3. We'll focus in on here, and then we'll bring the other areas up into detail as well, and we'll have a great little painting at the end. So stay tuned. I'll take a break, and we'll be back in an hour or so for step 3. Okay, welcome back now. We're now going to do step 3 of the Moore method, which is our finishing touches, details, highlights, and so on. This is bone dry now. Left it for a couple of hours, and it's looking good. It's got a nice feel to it so far. So I'll pop out some more paint. Just going with our standard palette. Keep it simple. You know, when you're learning to paint, you know, for the first couple of 100 paintings you do, keep it really simple. And I think, having worked with thousands of beginners now, both online and in workshops, you know, what I've concluded is that we make it too complex. We have 30 colors, and you know what I mean? Like, we just make it too hard for ourselves. So that's why I teach 3 steps. 3 basic colors. So our 3 base colors are ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. That makes up our basic palette. And then I add a little bit of cadmium yellow, usually as a booster color. Not always, but usually. And just some titanium white. And if you just keep your palette simple, then it simplifies it down. So, and I use 3 brushes, you know, a large flat brush, a medium, and a script liner brush. Because that gives us a good starting point to be able to then put this wall in light, and so on. Once we've got our darkest darks in, we can then work on our lights a lot easier. Okay, I don't know what that is there, but we'll pop a mark in there. That one should be probably just a little touch lighter, but I'll go with that dark in there. Okay. Underneath the eaves, there's a little bit of shadow there as well. There's a little bit of shadow in there with a bit of folded rusted tin. And what else do we have in there? Oh, there's a little bit of a door there underneath the eaves of that roof there. And then, you know, around the base here, I'll put a little bit of shadow. But what I'll do is I'll bring up some grasses and things into there. So we won't see most of that shadow, but we'll pop a little bit there for the moment. Okay. Then the sidewall here, and underneath there. Actually, that shadow needs to come down just a little bit more. I'll just pop that down there. Like so. So these sidewalls, they're a bluey, or they're a sheet metal grey. So if I take the blue and I get some white into there, okay, get a bit more white. We mix that around. That's too blue, isn't it? It's obviously too blue. If I take a little bit of that dark and mix that in, that'll just take the edge off the blue. Okay, get a little bit more of that dark. So it's just greying it back. You can pop a little touch of the yellow in there to grey it a little bit more. Because at the moment it's just blue and red. So if I get a little bit of yellow, that's the third primary colour. And that will take the saturation of it out. Now I think that's probably still too strong. So I'll just add some more white in there. And that's looking a bit better, isn't it? That's a sheet metal grey tone in sunlight. Okay, let's just test. Okay, that looks around about right. So I'm going to use that as the basis here. Be a run of highlight through there as well, along there. Okay, but that looks reasonable. I'll just dirty it up a little bit with some of that shadow tone. Okay, let's try it on this wall here and see how we think. Okay, around that window there. I'm thinking that's working reasonably well. And then we've got a couple of spots there. And then along this flatter part of the roof there, we've got some spots as well. Okay, it's all good. Get some into that roof and there. Good, good. A few little details, and let's now take our palette knife just to get a little bit of a hard edge along a few spots there. So I'll just scrape it across the paint there and just get that edge. See that? Okay, and I'm just going to use that just to run a little bit of highlight down there. And run a little bit along the top there. Okay. Actually, I've mixed up quite a nice tone there. Oops. So that tone there, I think, is going to be good for, in here against that colour. So that's all good. But we need to get some white, and we'll just mix some out on the end there, so we don't completely lose that mix. Get a little bit more yellow in there. Okay, and let's just test that out here. That's good. So this is a distant hill. It's not going to be, we don't want it to be too bright and vibrant. Okay, like so. There's a little bit of the hill poking through there. There's a little bit just in here. Like so. So we're just cutting around that roof, and that's working pretty well. So I'll just get a little bit of a stronger tone there in there now. Get a little bit of ultramarine blue, and let's just see what we got in here. Just dance the brush around. It's a technical painting term there, dancing the brush around. couple of big bold marks as well. And then that brings us then into this section in front. And bit by bit, we'll start building up our grasses here. So a little bit more yellow ochre and blue. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to paint this down. It runs downhill slightly, and I want to try and create that effect. See how simple it is to get that grassy flicking up against the shadows there? It's not that difficult. Okay, now that red undertone is peeking through all over the place here, creating a nice glowing feel, which is what we wanted. So it's working well. So a good tip then is to don't obliterate it all, you know, like leave some of it to come through. Okay, we'll get a little bit warmer again. And let's just work that in. Now, I'm thinking that path may not be such a bad idea. Okay, so notice I've got all this mixed colour in there, broken colour. That's good. That's how I kind of like it. So, what about if we we'll just swing that around. Now, if I don't like this, I'll just paint over it. That's not a problem. But we'll give it a... We'll experiment. We'll have a little look-see and see what happens. So I'll mix up some foliage colour. Blue, yellow, a little bit more of the other yellow, a little bit of red. See what happens with that. That's not a bad tone. And I'm just going to use the back of the palette knife and just... we've got the light coming from that side, so it's going to sort of be more around that sort of way. I haven't fully got a handle on the right technique with the palette knife yet, but I'm just going to keep playing with it until I do. It's no problem. That's not bad, is it? You got some darks still in there, so I think that works. I'll go a little bit warmer for the other side. Let's just see how we go with that. It's coming off a little bit blocky. That's the only downside I don't like. But I can always just take the brush and just tidy that up. In fact, I'm going to have to do that because I don't like that at all. Creating a few too hard edges. So I'll just pop some on them and we'll fix it up. Now when I was beginning painting, I'd get to a stage like this and go, oh my God, I've ruined it. And I'd throw it away and in a huff and go, I can't paint this painting, rah, rah, rah. I'm never going to be a painter, and then I'd be sobbing in the corner in a fetal position. You don't need to do that. It's a good thing about acrylics. I mean, if it was oils, a little bit more challenging to correct, but being acrylics, not a worry. Look, we'll just mix up a little bit of a dark there, a little bit on the blue side, and let's just poke it back up into that, swirl it around just so we get a bit of variety in there, like so. And already that tree is looking a little bit better, isn't it? Just put a couple of little dark marks there. Maybe it's where they tie up horses, maybe? Don't know. Doesn't matter, really. With a little bit of mystery, it's good for the viewer. Okay, and let's run some fence posts in through here. Okay, we'll pop a couple of supports and things. through there like so. I don't want these to be too vibrant and stand out. We want the eye to wander in. So this sort of bluey grey tone is probably a good one for them. Okay, I'll run that shadow out across the path there. Like so. They probably need just the tiniest little touch of highlight on them. Shearing Shed in the country, Australian bush. I'll take some Cad Red and I'll sign it. And the reason why I'm signing these ones, I'm popping them up on eBay and selling them. So if you want to get a copy of one of the paintings from one of the episodes of the Learn to Paint TV, you can do that. I'm popping them on as 99-cent auctions. Now, they're probably going to go for more than that. But that's where they're starting at any rate. And that way, you know, you can get one of the paintings from the TV show, get it at home, and have a look at what it is that we've done in greater detail, and then use that as a base to learn to do your own version of it and so on. All right, there you go. This was our original painting photo. Lots of grass in the foreground, which we've changed that up a little bit. There's a few other little details around the foreground, old machinery and stuff, but we just kept it simple, and I think it works well. We've got a nice cooler distance, got these trees that are working well, our little shearing shed, and then we've got this warmth, darker in the corners over here. I'm glad we put the path in. It just gives a lead in for the eye to wander through, and overall it's not a bad little painting. I think you'll enjoy doing this one. And just follow along all the steps. You know, it's the same steps that we do every week in Learn to Paint TV. And the reason why we do it every week is because it works. And if you're a beginner learning how to paint, or an intermediate wanting to improve, the Moore method of painting absolutely works, as you've seen. That's all I've done, is follow the principles of the Moore method. 3 steps, 3 colors, 3 brushes. And the result is quite a good little painting. You know, you could frame that up and you could pop that into the local art show and, you know, probably sell it. And I've had many students who have painted versions of my paintings and done that very thing, you know. Some have even won prizes at their local art show. So, yeah, it's definitely worth having a go at this one. Now, if you've enjoyed this, make sure you check out all the other episodes of learntopaint.tv. Just by going to www.learntopaint.tv. And if you haven't done already, go to the Learn to Paint Academy and register for your free painting course, where I explain all the principles in more detail for you. And you'll find that at www.learntopaint.academy. I'll put that on the screen, those web addresses, and I'll put them in the descriptions below. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Like the video, comment on it, and share it with other people, because your support and help is what will help us be able to do more and more of these type of videos for you and training for you. And so if you help us out, then we'll continue to produce great content, and we'll just get even better in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I certainly have enjoyed bringing it to you, and I'll see you next time on Learn to Paint TV. Cheers for now.